thanks for taking the time. When we looked at the people, talked about the people that would be good to interview for Experience with Christmas Story, your name came up because you were involved with it for a long time. Can you tell me when you first got involved with narrating the Christmas story?
Oh, yeah. Well, when Bill Rainey was here with St. John's, he always used to do the narration for the Christmas story. And he was sick a couple of times. And I think I did 2 years when he was sick. So that would have been in about 1984 or maybe 85. I think he left St. John's in 85. And that's when I started doing it on a regular basis.
Okay.
So it's something over 30 years.
Yeah, I remember when you got the order of the diocese, and one of the things they said at the time was the number of years you'd spent doing that, right?
At that time, it would be about 30 years. I don't think it was as much as 35, but I still had a couple of years to go after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're over 30 then, probably. So that's pretty amazing, Keith.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
It was only during the period when I was doing it regularly, there was just 1 year when I missed, and that was because I was in hospital.
All right. Well, so that's like you have perfect attendance for 30 plus years.
Right.
So that, in my quick math in my mind, that means you've probably done the narration more than 150 times, because there must have been 5 rehearsals each year, I'm betting. So
that's probably right.
That's a book. You've done a book worth of narration. So doing it that long, is there anything that stood out for you? Like there was an experience of some kind that you think about that in the time that you did it?
Well, yeah. Before I ever started narration, I was also a member of the cast. I played Herod for a number of years, and Mrs. Holton always used to say I had the fiercest face. And I used to put this fierce face on for Herod.
Yeah.
You know the way when the show is over, when the performance is over, I should say, the cast all walk back down the aisle and disappear at the back of the church. Well, while I was walking down with my Herod costume on and the pages behind me, there was a little boy in the audience hissed at me as I went past. and I thought that was kind of neat.
It is. You were very convincing. He thought for sure you were Herod, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I remember one time we were doing the Nunc Dimittis. John LeCain was playing Simeon.
Right.
And we were going through the Nunc Dimittis, and just for a moment, I forgot the words. Now, how I could forget, but I did, and John carried on just with his,
a true professional.
Sometimes you get those brain clogs, and the words just didn't come. Most of the time that I was doing it, we did not use a microphone.
Oh, really?
I had to project my voice.
Okay.
And it was only in the last few years that we started to use the microphone. In fact, I think it was Stephen Vale. I think it was Reverend Stephen Vale that said, "Hey, use the mic."
Use the mic. Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, that would have been actually probably pretty tiring to project your voice like that 2 nights in a row and all that kind of thing.
Well, to be sure that you were being heard, yeah.
Being in the play or the performance, bring any particular meaning of the gospel to you? You know, just because you're in that character set in that time.
Yes, it did. You know, you can't do a thing like that without putting yourself into the scene, so to speak.
Right.
So all of that narration comes from the Gospels.
Yeah.
And you just simply could not help but think of the meaning of the words that you were saying and that you were trying to project, if you like, to the audience.
Right.
So yes, the actual words and the meaning of them were important, are important.
You know, when I read it, I just feel like I can see it. I can see it happening because, you know, you've seen it on the stage.
Yeah, sure, yeah. It's all taken from the old King James version.
Yeah.
And I think the words are particularly meaningful from that version.
You've just started off by saying you took over from Bill Rainey, and he actually did the narration first before you became involved.
Yeah, well, Bill Rainey always did the narration from the scaffolding that we put up for lights.
Oh yes, yes.
He always used to have a seat up there.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he did it from up there.
Holy cow!
Now, when I did it first, and that was still in Bill Rainey's time, Mrs. Holton suggested that I do it from somewhere closer to the actors, because she was concerned that there was a slight delay between what the narrator was saying and what the cast on stage were hearing. So we decided that I would tuck myself down in behind the organ there.
Right, you got in the pit there.
And read from there.
Right.
And so that's what we did from then on.
Okay. A little bit cozy down there in the pit.
Oh, it was cozy. There's not a lot of room there.
No, that's for sure.
But I could sit on the step and put my feet down in the well, and so I was comfortable enough. Of course, John Reed followed Bill Rainey, and he didn't want to do the narration, so I carried on.
He carried on.
But Reverend John Reed, he decided that he would do the introduction and the closing.
Okay.
So he did an introduction for the audience sake, and then some prayers at the end of the performance.
Right. So I guess you only worked with one director, because Georgina did that directing role for many years, right? Or
well, yeah, I did work with Kathy as well.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But Georgina was, you know, she's a beautiful woman.
Yes.
And she was just so kind to everybody. But when it came to the Christmas story, she was a tartar. Oh, she would get the kids together at the beginning of a rehearsal, well, and the performance too. And she would tell them exactly what was expected. You don't talk on stage. Nobody runs in church. Two of her rules. And
Right.
then, of course, she would always open every performance before she let any of the cast go from downstairs. She would start with a prayer.
Okay.
And set the scene, so to speak. She would put
Right.
people in the right frame of mind. However, nobody got away with anything with Georgina.
Yeah. There must have been a lot of different organists, were there, in your time, or not so much?
Not so much.
Okay.
We've had a number of organists that came in on the spur of the moment, just fill in.
Okay.
And of course, they would not know the.
I know. I know.
So I sitting back down there would prompt them.
Okay.
Okay,
There,
now, and I'd say it's 3 verses or whatever, you know. For the,
oh, that's good. That's
So-
good. So, after doing it for so many years, what was your reason for stopping? Did you just like it? It became too tiring.
no, I wasn't too tired. I hadn't done it too long, but I did think that 30 odd years was a long time.
It was.
Things were changing a little bit. I felt that it needed somebody different to do the narration.
Okay.
And I just thought maybe the time had come.
Okay. Well, you know, you did it a lot of years, so that makes sense. And you know, switching over to the 2 different narrators that Kathy did when she got Tom and Judy, that kind of worked well as a different approach, right? I thought it worked pretty well, actually.
Mhm.
Is there any kind of closing thought or story you'd like to leave with us before we wrap this up?
We can laugh about some of the things that happened in the Christmas story. We can look at my doing it for 30 years, but it's been going on for what? Are we getting to 60 now?
This is supposed to be the 60th year.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's been going on for a long, long time.
It has.
And it's the story is really the important part of it.
Yeah.
It's perhaps the only time that some people get to hear
Yeah.
the real Christmas story.
Yeah.
It's the only time that some people are exposed to, well, what we look on as our life
Right.
in Christ and our beliefs and our faith. So it's important that we keep on doing that.
Yeah.